The primary purpose of the Nuremberg trials was to hold accountable individuals responsible for heinous acts committed during World War II, particularly by the Nazi regime. This included war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, all of which were carried out on an unprecedented scale during the war. Nuremberg was chosen as the location for the trials due to its symbolic significance in Nazi Germany. The city was a site of massive Nazi rallies and held historical importance in Nazi propaganda, making it a fitting place for the trials. The accused in the trials were high-ranking Nazi officials, military leaders, and bureaucrats who played pivotal roles in the Nazi regime. These individuals were considered the principal architects and executors of the policies that led to the war and its atrocities. Although Hitler, Himmler and Goebbels had committed suicide at the end of the war, the defendants, who were largely unrepentant, included former cabinet ministers, Franz von Papen, who had brought Hitler to power, Joachim von Ribbentrop, foreign minister, Wilhelm Frick, interior minister, and Alfred Rosenberg, minister for the occupied Eastern Territories. Also prosecuted were leaders of the German economy, such as Gustav Krupp, of the conglomerate Krupp AG, former Reichsbank president Hjalmar Schacht, and economic planners Albert Speer and Walter Funk, along with Speer's subordinate and head of the forced labor program, Fritz Sauckel. The military leaders were Hermann Göring, the most infamous surviving Nazi, Wilhelm Keitel, Alfred Jodl, Erich Raeder, and Karl Donitz, who was head of the German Navy. Also on trial were propagandists Julius Streicher and Hans Fritzsche, Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy who had flown to Britain in 1941, Hans Frank, Governor-General of the General Governorate of Poland, Hitler Youth leader Baldur von Schirach, Arthur Seyss-Inquart, Reich Commissioner for the Netherlands, and Ernst Kaltenbrunner, the leader of Himmler's Reich Main Security Office. Observers of the trial found the defendants mediocre and contemptible. The Nuremberg trials were conducted by an international military tribunal composed of judges and prosecutors from the four major Allied powers: United States, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and France. This demonstrated the collaborative effort to ensure justice and accountability. The legal foundation for the trials was established by the London Charter, signed by the Allies in August 1945. The Charter outlined the statutes and procedures for the International Military Tribunal, IMT, to prosecute war criminals. The defendants faced charges that fell into three main categories: crimes against peace, planning, initiating, and waging wars of aggression, war crimes, violations of laws and customs of war, and crimes against humanity, atrocities against civilian populations. The indictments detailed the atrocities committed by the accused, ranging from the Holocaust to the brutal treatment of prisoners of war and civilians. The indictments sought to link the defendants to these acts and demonstrate their collective responsibility. The Nuremberg trials established important principles of international justice, including individual accountability for war crimes, the rejection of the superior order's defense, and the idea that individuals can be held accountable for crimes even in times of war. The accused were provided legal representation and had the opportunity to present their defense and challenge the evidence brought against them. This ensured a semblance of due process and adherence to the rule of law. The prosecution presented a vast array of evidence, including documents, testimonies, and visual materials such as photographs and films. This evidence aimed to substantiate the charges and establish the extent and gravity of the crimes. The judges at the IMT rendered judgments based on the evidence and arguments presented. The sentences ranged from acquittals to imprisonment and, in some cases, the death penalty. 12 defendants were sentenced to death by hanging for their roles in the planning and execution of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The sentences were carried out on October 16, 1946. The trials left an enduring legacy, setting a precedent for the prosecution of individuals for war crimes and crimes against humanity. They influenced subsequent international criminal tribunals and the development of international humanitarian law. The Nuremberg trials significantly contributed to the development of international law, leading to the establishment of the International Criminal Court, ICC, in 2002, which prosecutes individuals for similar offenses on a global scale. The trials played a critical role in documenting and publicizing the Holocaust, bringing global attention to the genocide and its horrifying magnitude. This awareness helped combat Holocaust denial and revisionism. The trials faced criticism for selective justice, as they were perceived by some as victor's justice, due to the role of the victorious Allied powers in conducting and controlling the proceedings. After the IMT, subsequent trials were held in Nuremberg, known as the Nuremberg Military Tribunals, focusing on specific cases and individuals involved in war crimes and crimes against humanity. Some defendants were sentenced to imprisonment for various durations, while others faced subsequent trials for their involvement in specific crimes during the war. The Nuremberg trials set a lasting legacy for the pursuit of justice for war crimes and human rights violations, emphasizing the importance of holding individuals accountable for their actions in times of war and conflict. The principles established during the Nuremberg trials continue to shape international criminal law and human rights efforts, reinforcing the belief that individuals and leaders should be held accountable for war crimes and crimes against humanity, irrespective of their positions or circumstances.